Hello students, and welcome to Module 5, The Search for Truth. Although we've learned that philosophy was born out of the question of metaphysics, or the search for reality, in the modern period, philosophers began to question not only reality, but what was truth and knowledge. They asked the question of whether real knowledge and truth were even possible. Be sure to carefully read this text in our book. It is not an easy read and will cause you to scratch your head and stretch your imagination, so think hard. How do you really know that 2 plus 2 equals 4? Take this question. We've all been conditioned with the notion that a 2 represents along with the plus sign and the equal sign. But the only reason that we know what we know is because someone else told us this was true. We have some type of grounds or experience on which to understand these symbols. Now I want you to open your mind for an illustration. Let's say that the first 2 means pink elephants and that the plus sign means fly to the moon and that the equal sign means never. Now, let the 4 mean indiscriminately. Thus, this equation would yield a nonsensical proposition. Pink elephants fly to the moon, pink elephants never indiscriminately. It's all in what you think these symbols really mean. Think of the question, can something be true for a particular person? Or can truth be subjective? If you've ever participated in a book club, you will have encountered this scenario. Invariably, at a book club meeting, the dialogue turns from what is happening in a particular chapter scene to what does this say to you? The implication is that there are aspects of a particular book that are true in different ways for other people. This means that some propositions may be true and only have a meaning for a particular group that can actually experience them. For example, a person may say that childbirth is the most excruciatingly painful natural human process. However, there are a whole group of people in the population that will never experience that event, so they would not be particularly affected by that meaning. It's all in your own opinion, being subjective. Empirical truth. This is factual truth, and it's known only on the basis of experience. Necessary truth. Now this is truth that has been discovered by reason. Let's examine the idea of Santa Claus. In the previous module, some of you chose to debate and validate whether Santa Claus was real or not. Let's think about the truth of Santa Claus in this module. As a child, you are told that he exists, and you get presents on Christmas morning. You even see the man dressed up in the red suit at the local shopping center. To you, the child, through your experience, he is real. He is true. That is empirical truth based on your experience. However, at a certain point in your life, you begin to reason and question how he gets in the house. How does he travel the whole world in one night? And you wonder why you've never seen a flying reindeer. You now have a fuller idea of the truth of this matter. The spirit of Santa and gift giving is real. But he is a mythical character based on the story of the real Saint Nicholas who lived so long ago. Your reason has now filled in the gaps from your childhood experiences. And empirical truth is the matter of the fact. But we can see that there are circumstances that would make them false, like here with Santa. Necessary truths cannot possibly be false after they have been defined and discovered. In this module and in our textbook, you will study several theories of truth that have been proposed by philosophers through the years. The traditional theory of empirical or factual truth is called the correspondence theory of truth. Now, this theory claims that a belief is true if it corresponds to the facts of your reality. The coherence theory of truth says that a belief is true if it is logically connected to other beliefs and other statements. The pragmatic theory of truth says that a belief is true if it helps us in practice with our work and lives. It's practical. Now, we've talked before about René Descartes. Descartes wrote a series of essays called The Meditations. These essays are considered to be the foundational text for much of modern philosophy. Descartes was a mathematician and a rationalist, and he insisted on proof. To be sure that he only believed what was really true, he came up with the method of doubt. This is a method of finding truth where the thinker rejects as true anything that can be doubted. So he decided to doubt everything. He resolved that if you assume everything is false until it can be proven true, then you'll know that it must be true. His method of doubt was heatedly debated and continues to be argued until this day. David Hume was another modern philosopher who took aim at Descartes' method of doubt. Hume was more of a skeptic, not a rationalist and proof-driven person like René Descartes. Hume accepted two truths right off the bat. He said that there's an external world existing independently of us, and that each person is in direct contact with only the contents of that person's own mind. He believed that all knowledge came from our experiences. Hume's ideas, which are known as Hume's fork, press on the idea that there are only two kinds of truth: matter of fact, which is the factual truth, and the truth of reason, which is the necessary truth. Immanuel Kant took up the process of skepticism after David Hume, but he denied this two-world dualist approach to the assumption of truth. Kant insisted that we set up the world according to rules that are in our minds. Our world is what we know to be true to us based on our experiences. These experiences impose forms and categories in our mind and on our knowledge. Kant called this new truth systematic a priori. Take, for example, the toddler, whose whole world revolves around himself or herself because caretakers are right there at their beck and call, and everything seems to be just for them. In their own little minds, they have used their current experiences to base truth that they must be the center of the universe. However, later, as they grow in reason, the necessary truth is that none of us really are. Lastly, what's the big deal about the scientific method? Today's society seems very attached to the notion of the traditional scientific method. But is the scientific answer to a question always the most true answer? Most philosophers are criticized by scientists because they emphasize reason and rationality. The philosopher argues that humans are more than autotrons, though, and that a lot of humans rarely act rationally at all. If one only focuses on reason and rationality, we leave out the other important parts of our existence, like emotions and imagination. Remember, the scientific method might do well to be tied to reason at the expense of very human traits like emotion, imagination, faith when it comes to the search of truth.